Say what? Okay, so the star energies are pretty much saying, thanks to my friends Andrea and others, Dave, who do look at these things more closely than me, the star energies are saying, be cautious with your words, you know, because these are testing few days, 4 days. Now it's only 2 days left, and I've been quite still, and because of the delay in getting our truck on the road, it's given us a few days just to kind of take a pause. So it's really, well, I don't need to go into details, but so I met the guy in town the other day, John, who's a really lovely man. He remembers seeing me and Zizi walking around the park barefoot, a little park back in the day, and so I had a little conversation with him, all very pleasant and so on, and he I give him my email, my YouTube account, and so he goes on it and sees videos that are, you know, not really, anyway, you know, it's like I was, say, 6 years ago, if someone, as you know, the guy did when he said ISIS was an American funded creation. That was the Kurdish barber who said that to me, and I was annoyed with him for months before I really started getting hold of the other information. Anyway, so I was fairly short with Don, and you know, it wasn't that I wanted to be short so much as I realized how little time we have now, and how much time I have put into trying to convince the unconvincible, or those that are convincible, but really, like most of us, we do need months of reviewing or revision of the stuff that we learned. Don't know if I'm ever going to get used to the sight of young women or children wearing like that young lady there. We will. With a mask, black mask, faceless. I've given so much, and we have all put so much effort, I'm sure, into trying to convince family members and friends that the information sources that we've all been given, are controlled, and even those that aren't, they live within such a controlled paradigm of knowledge that they can write only from that construct, even if they're sort of left-wing or outsiders, you know. Even that dude who does the archaeology, name escapes me, very, very popular, you know, he's willing to speak outside of what the mainstream archaeology Royal Society says is the accepted narrative. But he will only go so far. He will never stray into the truly energetic, the truly divine and spiritual aspect of this place. And so, you know, even to get caught up in these windows, you say, oh, that was blocked in because it was once a ticket booth or something. But what would you say about these windows? What excuse would you offer for those? Anyway, sorry. So we start to realize, I start to realize that every time I'm involved in a discussion, debate or argument with somebody over the nuance of the belief system that they or I cling to, then I am simply the red shift against the blue, or the dark against the light, the yin and the yang. And I have to learn not to be that, not to need to be that, you know, because such is the way of belief systems, is that you give a lot of 7-year-olds or children between the age of birth and 7, you give them a particular set of beliefs. 9 out of 10 of them will die with those same beliefs pretty much intact. So this is what I wanted to say, though. See, this is, I kind of want to have a little bit of a I want to challenge Owen Benjamin, really, in terms of something that he and I'll link this to Mac, the Flat Earth FOKKER, because I think Mac, the Flat Earth FOKKER, is, you know, one of the most courageous, you know, brave dudes that you could hope to meet. And I haven't met him yet, but maybe one day I will. He's been a front runner in the sort of activism, and, you know, just putting, you know, setting his whole intention on exposing the truth, and that's really admirable. And, you know, I definitely have a lot of respect for the guy, and I you know, so I couch this by saying, I start by saying that that's the man that we know, Mac. And today I just caught an excerpt of him doing a live in his car, talking about jumping on the Trump train, becoming a Trump card. Now, obviously, he's not, you know, he's not lost his marbles, but he is in a state of despair, understandable despair, because, you know, it seems that, and here's a guy who's done so much activism, and he knows, he's been out in the street like I have, and he knows the numbers of people in his heart. He knows the numbers of people are nowhere near significant enough to change what's happening. So what choice do you have, perhaps, but to jump on the coattails of the guy who apparently might be that kind of messiah of change? How this relates to Owen Benjamin and stuff that I heard him say maybe a year ago. You know, it's been a while since I've had the opportunity of listening to him. He's a funny guy, extremely smart, you know, it was amazing how quickly he caught up on so many subjects. And yeah, he was certainly a big a boost for truth talking, because, you know, his style, his way, his bear club, you know, has huge traction. And most people know that YouTube pushed him off the platform for saying things, some outrageous things. Most of them true, you know, I think, but some outrageous things, things to do with race, or you know, groupings and so on. But I'm not. I'm not looking to challenge Owen Benjamin on that point. What I'm looking to challenge Owen Benjamin on, and he may have changed his stance, because, gosh, the man has come leaps and bounds. And if I was still a young man in my 30s, I would be so grateful to be where he is at, because his homesteading approach, all of that is top class. I really commend that. But somewhere where I think he and Mac, the flat earth FOKKER, might be off base is to do with his male classification. Well, it's not his male classification, it is and some accepted classification handed down by the wet rags in university. I shouldn't be so demeaning, that's not fair. But anyway, I mean, then there's extremely, Eckhart Tolle has got some really interesting stuff to say, and you know, there's a bunch of these guys that I find really interesting and insightful. Oftentimes they tend to be like these really effeminate or you know, soft-handed guys and what have you. And I think this kind of brings me to the point really, and that is that Benjamin goes with this you know, alpha male. Well, it's all alpha male, it's all alpha male. You got to be the alpha male, you got to go out there all guns and thunder, and you know, trample on what may come, which really, whilst a valuable aspect of the man's makeup, shouldn't be all that he's about, because a man is also a father, he's a husband of animals and plants too. He's a product of nature, he's a humble being who honors and reveres the source of all things, which may not have any kind of gender, but in the first instance we're drawn to the mother nature. And the aspects of the man like Eckhart Tolle and the names escape me right now, but anyway, you know, these people, or Sadhguru, or some of these, you know, learned preacher types, they are valuable aspects of the male potentiality. It's because we're not one thing, we're all things. And so to peg yourself in the spectrum, the rainbow spectrum of color, to say I am only blue, is to actually blinker yourself, or to impede your own true self, because the alpha male typically is not the gentle, loving character that I'm sure Owen Benjamin is when he's with his wife or his children or with his alpacas. I think that in truth there will be moments of, you know, sadness and even grief when loved ones pass on. And this comes from other aspects of the male self. My pal Ian and I, who spent a few months together in the early lockdown up in Lincoln, we kind of had a falling out, and you know, he accused me of being like a particular type of male, you know, and it wasn't meant to be. He wasn't trying to be nice. He was trying to be derogatory in the course of this disagreement. And you know, it struck me then, and I've thought about it a bit since then, you know, and wondered about whether I am too soft, too hard. You know, it depends on who you talk to. There are people in my life who would say, yeah, you were at that period in your life, you were extremely this, or perhaps over the course of your lifetime you have been more that. And I agree that there are dominant traits within each of us. But I think that the full spectrum of who we are is a balanced mix. Alpha, beta, gamma, delta, I don't know, foxtrot, you know, whatever it is, it should be like, you know, we have that range of potentiality. We can gently nurture a newborn lamb, or a baby child, you know, really gently nurture them from cradle through to 4, 5, 6 years old, in a way that is soft I recently experienced people who, some of whom are so fixated perhaps on a particular way of being that baby children are treated like, you know, 13-year-old boys. Because they no longer have the ability to connect to that softer, nurturing, love, you know, that tender aspect of the male psyche. It still all comes through the filter of, you know, whatever band, range, limitation you are working through, or the person is working through. And I think we need to consider this. And I don't know where Owen Benjamin is on this, but I'm starting to wonder whether this isn't what is afflicting my friend Mac, is that, you know, he's come at it from such a bosh belligerent kind of we'll turn everybody over, we'll go and then to overturn the system. Same with Roxanne. You know, she's from that kind of like, fists in your face, let's go, you know, kind of a mindset, you know, an alpha female perhaps. And that's fantastic, but at the same time it can also be disabling. And I've wondered a bit about why it is that I haven't been as belligerent over these last few months as perhaps I had been, or perhaps I was being programmed to be, or perhaps I was, you know, my initial kind of position was. Why? And actually I think the difference is my wife, you know, Andrea, because she's kind of come at it from like a very, you know, like from the feminine, let's not fight, you know, let's take a more kind of, well, I mean, I think maybe initially out of her own fear of, I don't want to stand up there and make a noise like that. But as she did more research and got into that, the more spiritual, esoteric stuff, and of course me having had the DMT experience, you know, I knew that all the heroic bravado of the Rambo kind of mindset that has been inculcated in so many boys, now men, that Rambo mindset is toxic, actually. It's toxic, you know. I'm not talking about defending your family and yourself, but what the feminine energy gives you is more like the softer, the more loving way. You know, she is the nurturer, the mother, and she can teach the man things that the man can't teach her, although the man can teach her things too. It is simply a case of the balance between the divine feminine and masculine. And I think in our warring world, in our dog-eat-dog world, in our capitalist is good, greed is king world, and this has played right into that male psyche of, I want to be the champion, you know, I want to best the others. So too the woman. I mean, this is, you know, I mentioned one woman already, but there are, of course, our landscape is replete with women now, only too eager to wear the suit and tie of capitalism, boardroom sharkism. So I think Mac, my friend Mac, is you know, one of those guys who's not had on his wing a woman to soften his is learning, you know, because, you know, we did all the left brain learning about so many of the clever deceptions that have been played out, and we did the left brain, or the alpha male, let's go and stand at the gate and try and tear it down and replace it with something a little less breathless. But he's not had, this has not given him, this has had his focus and his, in a way, in his ego, and I don't mean that in an unkind way, because, you know, I know too that had I joined, I was invited to the COVID UK tour, you know, and had I joined that tour, then my ego would have become attached to the outcomes of the days on tour and the numbers of people reached and the next argument or delivery of information, how I was going to play that. We even played out a little bit with this guy Don, you know, getting in touch with me, a complete out from the cold, you know, still watches the BBC believingly. You know, it's what people are, I'm sure you may realize yourself, and that's why, you know, years ago I turned off Facebook, was because even if I put a post up and just one or two people replied in a way that would, you know, only need to be one or two people reply, and that one person or two could retain your energy in that particular vibratory state that had you in that alpha male combat condition. So this is why it's so important, Mac, to perhaps switch all of that off at this point in time. I don't think that we have to have the answer. We don't have to have the solution and the savior. We don't have to have that out there. And I think that the Trump trick and the Q trick is simply to keep people, good people who were meant to continue their journey into this more balanced position, to say, hey, I see it's all a left-right game. It's all dualism. And I need to zoom back from dualism into this place of love, this place of acceptance of the fun fair is run by pedophiles and ne'er-do-wells. The fun fair is run by them. Do I just thing, or stand at the queue at the door and throw eggs at them? Or do I say, you know what? The fun fair's not for me. I'm going to pack up my stuff and I'm going to find my own little place, and I don't need the lights of the fun fair. Yes, it's nice because, you know, you just go turn up there and hand over a little bit of your time and they give you some food. But the people who run it, it's a family run business, and they ain't going to, they might take, okay, well, we'll say, you know, Uncle Fester here, who's running it at the moment, the molester, we'll get rid of him. He's going to go and just work in the House of Horrors, and then we'll put, you know, Auntie, well, you know what I mean. We'll just put another family member in. So, Mac, you got really. You see, the thing is that once you jump on the Trump train, and that's what the Q thing is that it takes people a lot of time to stay in touch with Q. That's the point of Q. Is it's like a keep minds busy kind of thing, you know. And if I think I gave up, or I looked at Q really in 2017, maybe 2016, I think, but it was like, no, this is just taking my time. This is really an exhausting thing, and they're making all of these sort of possible the point is that you get on the Trump train. Now you're like listening to the man's speeches, and you're wondering whether he's like going to get well, and whether he's going to use this as the assassination moment, and whether Pence is this and that, and how that's going to play into, you know, the current election cycle, and is it all going to go online, and is it, you know, going to be seen as, look, we'll just dispense with. It's all theatre. It's all stuff to keep you entertained and give you a sort of a left, right, or dualist perspective from your brother or your sister. And of course, we know from conversations with people in your world that there are magical forces in play here that are far greater than simply the words that have been spoken. So what is your course? You know, is your course simply, or not simply, but is your course to be someone who stayed in the dualism? Because even whether you're arguing as to whether the R number is a real thing, or it's now going up, but it's not high enough, you know, even if you're all the way down at that level of seeing what's going on, or at the level of, you know, Fauci said the masks were this, and then he said it was that, or the UK government downgraded COVID to a non-threatening or non-communicable, high-risk communicable condition. You know, or that you're at the leading edge of, that this is a hoax, and you need to know that this is a hoax, and the masks are bad for you. This has been deception wrought upon the people to prepare them for something such as either a real pandemic brought about by all of this strange behavior that people are getting up to these days, or there is a cosmic shift occurring, and it might well mean a lot of people suffer some strange symptoms, and maybe some of those people even perish in the process. You know, even if you're in that kind of conversation, you're still kind of in the mix of that, and not realizing that we don't really have control over the meta game. We only have control over ourselves, and in ourselves we need to find balance. And I think that that's relevant particularly to the teachings of Owen Benjamin, because morning. He's really just no good man, but he's encouraging. I think if he's still saying, you know, it's all about the alpha male and these gammas or this and that, we all have that in us. You know, we all have those aspects of us, and if you feel the need to hide some of those aspects, then you are still living behind veils. We can be the full range of the divine masculine on our journey. And, you know, on the 8th of October, 33 years ago, 2 Russian MiG fighter jets came down on my position. First time they flew by, we thought they'd missed us. Second time, they didn't. And they dropped these 500-kilo bombs, 4 of them. I watched as the parachutes opened of these bombs, and they in slow motion, because your brain is now working at hyperspeed. I'm standing there right in line of these 1,000-pound bombs and watching these parachutes for what seems like an eternity. And then I start moving, and then I start acting, and I get my gunner, and the 2 of us bundled into our vehicle a second before the world was exploded around me. The engine plates on my vehicle were buckled out, but friends who were right in the line of that were less fortunate, and their vehicle was torn apart. One of the lads, Fricky, he died in a few hours. Another lad, Gary, he lost his leg. But we're still in touch. Well, I was more in touch with these guys back in 2015, after 14, after writing the book, and after I started talking about 9/11 and then Flat Earth. All of that bonhomie slipped away. I say this really because within a day or two of that, I was back in battle and was needing to do what was needed to be done. Then I went to sleep. After my national service ended, I went to sleep. Pretty much just accepted that I was now a reject of the system and had to find my own way, and didn't know. Then middle age, then all of this truth starts unfolding for me in front of me. And then I have to face my fears yet again, to go and stand in Speaker's Corner in London and say things that people find very difficult to accept. And that took courage too. It takes courage just to speak to your own family, doesn't it? It takes courage to get to where you've got. So there's very little doubt that you're a person not without courage. Sorry, a person without courage, not without courage. But it's more than just courage, isn't it? And you know, that courage is used, exploited to get soldiers to continue that mind preparation, training, etc. is used to get soldiers to continue going to war. Remember, well, you may not know, but just a few days ago, on the 3rd of October, my squadron, my unit, prosecuted the biggest tank battle on African soil since World War II. We lost one of our lieutenants, Adrian, and his death was significant. We were only 36 guys in our squadron, frontline fighting squadron, so losing one on the 3rd was a big blow for my squadron. Losing another on the 8th was a huge blow, but we lived through that one a little bit more because we weren't on the 3rd. We were all in battle, so you're not really, you know, so much stuff going down. Whereas on the 8th, we weren't in battle that morning. It was a different setting altogether. So we sort of saw it all and lived through the guy dying, and Gary screaming in agony with most of his leg gone. The helicopters wouldn't come and get us because obviously the Russian aircraft had superiority in Angola and we were in enemy territory. But we had to be courageous, and we were trained for that. And actually, I think a lot of those guys who were with me have lost that courage along the way, and I probably did too, but I had to rediscover it to make this journey. But that's not all we are. We are not all killer soldiers, guys, and that's when we are out there doing activism and people are just banging that drum of they've been lying to us, then we're sort of caught up in that same conditioning, I think. I don't think we need to be that. You can be that, but that's what the system wants. You must know that. The system wants you to be in fight or flight. Cowering under the sofa, breathing cans of paint rather than the air. I don't know, but they want you doing that, or they want you fighting. They don't want you creating something of your own. Because this is their creation. This corona is theirs. It's all their stuff. And squibbling and squabbling over that is not in your best interest. So take Owen Benjamin's advice, you know, get out there, do the homesteading, do what you can in that regard, or take your life in that direction if you can. I really value that advice. But don't do it in an alpha male way. There's only so much alpha male that's needed in your life, I'm sure. And Matt, good luck, my friend. I know the Trump thing is only like an experiment, but it's like, okay, do you still need your mind to be entertained by the shit that's going on out there? Or is there not? I mean, in Canada there are vast tracts of land. There must be people connecting together. Some have got land, some have got money, some have got skills and what have you, coming together. There must be people increasingly like that. Good luck.